Hello, children. How are you all? Hope you are all doing well. Welcome to the next new lecture for social science. So, in the yesterday's lecture, we had started chapter 4 of history. We had the part 1 video. We have completed up to page number 39, up to almost the last part, up to almost the last part of the page we had discussed. So, in yesterday's lecture, we had discussed about uh, certain Vedas. Okay, what are Rig Vedas? How many Veds are there? And regarding the Sanskrit language, means as it is a part of, it is known as part of languages, which is called Indo-European languages. So, which all languages are been included with these family, and what is a language family called? So, and we have discussed about the insights about the past and what are the inferences that we can take for this Vedas. Okay, this is what we have. It was kind of an example. With an example, we saw this, and we have seen in detail regarding the Rig Veda. Okay, how many hymns are available? Which are those hymns? And what are the prayers that were led for certain Rig Vedas? Why? Which all things were used? Like cattle, children, horses were used. What was the purpose of them? Use of those animals. Okay, so these things we have seen, and what these animals were used as in kind of battle. Okay, so what are kind of battles they were used for that we have seen yesterday, and as we have seen in the earlier times, the kings, those who fought for the war, fought in the war, they got wealth after winning the battles. So which were the and that wealth was used for what all purposes? As we have seen yesterday, they were used in yajnas. Okay, they were done to please gods and goddesses, and they offered certain grains, crops, and animals for pleasing God. And how the people were being described in individually as a community, how the people are described. That's things we have seen, and what's the social structure. So when they fight in a battle, what were the opponents known as? They were known as dasas or dasyus. They did not perform any sacrifices. They spoke different languages. And so these things we have seen in the last lecture. So today's lecture, as you can see, okay, on the screen, it's a new lecture as the second part of this video. Yeah, this is for class 6, subject social science, chapter number 4, history. So today's topics that we are going to discuss is regarding megaliths. What are megaliths? Special burials at Inamgaon. Third topic is occupations at the Inamgaon. Fourth is the skeletal studies. And the fifth point that we are going to discuss is meanwhile in China. Okay, so as presented by Jabez Matthew. Okay, so you welcome to today's lecture. So let's start with the megaliths for today's lecture. Yes. So what are megaliths? See, they you can see in your textbook, page number 39, the portion, the last portion, the last paragraph that is given in your textbook. Silent sentinels, the story of megaliths. So let's discuss, let's understand what is this megalith. So these are stone boulders called megaliths, which means what do you mean by megalith? It means big stones. Megaliths means big stones. As you can see in the figure, I have put a figure over here so that you can understand. See, this is known as megaliths. Okay, they were carefully arranged by people to mark the burial sites. So it was arranged in this way, as you can see in the figure. Okay, the stones, the big stones were arranged in this way so that people may understand it is a burial site of which the dead bodies are kept over here and they are buried. And which are the time period? So this practice was began about 3000 years ago. So about 3000 years ago from today, we see this practice was carried out, or this practice began. Okay, and the location in which this was began is was prevalent throughout the Deccan, South India, Northeast, as well as in Kashmir. Okay, now you can move on for in your textbook in page number 40. So what is that? Let's understand this megaliths in detail. Okay, so some megaliths can be seen on the surface, and other megaliths burials are often underground. Okay, so some of the megaliths could be seen on the surface of the earth, and while some are buried underground. So a circle of stone boulders or a single large stone on the ground, the only indications that there are burials beneath. Okay, so sometimes what the archaeologists find a circle of stone boulders, as you can see in the picture. Okay, in this way, the stone, there's what you can see, this was a kind of stone being placed for burial of the dead bodies. Okay, so sometimes what happened, this archaeologists found a circle of stone boulders or a single large stone standing on the ground. Okay, and what these are the only indications that there are burials beneath, while some megaliths are circular and are called what, cyst, they are known as cyst. Okay, like one shown here, you can see have portholes which could be used as an entrance. See this here, you can see in the picture there is a hole, okay, in a stone. Okay, portholes we call it. Okay, so like this it has been placed, which is known as what, cyst. So these kind of, yeah, the burial site is known as cyst. So some cysts have what, portholes which could be used as an entrance. Here means people can enter into it. Uh, this could be used as an entrance. Okay. Now let's discuss about the common burial practices regarding megaliths. How this burial practices carried out, how it took place, in which way. So let's see. Generally, the dead were buried with, means the dead bodies were buried with what, certain distinctive pots called black and red ware, means along with their dead bodies, the pots were also buried along with them. Okay, means the pots. Okay, had tools and weapons of iron. So in those times, as you can see in your textbook on the figure, see an iron equipment found from megalithical burials. Left on the left top, horse equipment, on the left below, which is known as axis. Okay, here you can see in your textbook, and in the below, dagger. Okay, you can see a knife shaped weapon. Okay, yeah, so that tools and weapons of iron, these were made of iron. So we can say that in at that time this iron was being discovered. Okay, and sometimes with horses, horse equipment, and ornaments of stone and gold, they this dead bodies were being buried. Okay, so these dead bodies were buried along with certain black pots, iron, horses, horse equipment, ornaments of stone were also buried within. And sometimes more objects are found in one grave than in another. Means not only these, but more than these objects were also found along with this grave, or the along with the dead body. So this suggests that there was some difference in status amongst people who were buried with what, rich, poor, chiefs, followers, etc. So as they put the certain objects along with the dead bodies, what happens? This suggests what idea do they get? This suggests that there is some difference in status. Means if a dead body is buried, if gold is buried with dead body, that means we can consider. For example, I am saying, suppose in a dead body, with a dead body, if gold is buried along with that dead body, then we can consider that this community people were very rich. So in this way, so that they could be identified in such a way, means whether rich people are being buried or poor people are being buried. In this way they can discover easily. Okay, that's why such things were also being buried with them. Now, let's discuss about the family burial mechanisms. How these families are being buried in this mechanism. See, sometimes megaliths contain what, more than one skeleton. Okay, and this indicates that people probably of the same family were buried in the same place whenever they died. Means, as we can see, more than one skeleton been buried in that megalith. What happens? This gives shows us that, means, from the same family one more person or more than one person is been died. That means that way we'll come to know, if more than one skeleton is been buried, then we'll obviously come to know that along with them, in their family one or more persons have been died. Okay, so the bodies of those who died later were brought into the grave through the portholes, as we have seen in the figure in the previously we have seen uh, here. Yeah, this is, here you can see in the on the screen, I am pointing it by my mouse. Okay, see here, this is known as portholes. Okay, so what happens is, some of the bodies who died later were brought into this grave with the help of these potholes. Means, as I have showed you, with the help of these potholes they were been brought into the grave, and some circle or boulder on the surface probably served as what, signpost, so people could find it later. Means, some circles or boulders were also been served, so that people may get the idea that here is the burial site. Okay, so this way the family burial took place in megaliths. And now let's see a special burial that took place in a place called Inamgaon. How there the special burial took place, that is on page number 41 we are now right now discussing. Okay, so the previously, as we have discussed, family burial megaliths, these are all in page number 41 only. Okay, so right now that where some burial spots meant for certain family, that portion we have right now completed, and we are moving on for the last paragraph of that page number 41. That is a special burial at Inamgaon. How it took place. See, in Inamgaon is a site on River Godh. Okay, and in that River Godh is a tributary of River Bhima. As we have already seen in previous chapters, what do you mean by tributary? Okay, tributary means what? A small river that connects to a large river, seas or ocean. It is known as tributary. Okay, so that River Godh is a tributary of River Bhima. So it connects to River Bhima, which might be a large river. Okay, so it was this special burial at Inamgaon. It was occupied between 3600 to 2700 years ago. Okay, and sometimes burials were within the house, and vessels containing food and water were placed with the dead. Okay, so in Amgaon, when any people got died, they got buried in the means at in certain place in Amgaon. So along with them, certain vessels containing food and water were also placed with the dead body. Okay, so adults were generally buried in the ground. They were laid out straight with their head to the north. Means they had kind of belief, by laying this dead body in such a way, by they got means buried in the ground by laying them straight with their head to the northern side. When they lay this dead body in such a way, they believed that this might be something good for their future. Okay, so they had such a kind of a belief. Okay, so in this way they used to bury that dead body. Okay, now let's see what were the occupations at the Inamgaon. So in here we have seen that how was the special burial that took place in Inamgaon. Now let's discuss about the occupations uh, that were at Inamgaon. Let's see what did archaeologists found. Okay, this occupation at Inamgaon is in page number 42 of your 42 of your textbook. Okay, that we are discussing right now. Okay, yeah. After that, we'll move on for what skeletal studies tell us. After this, we'll move on to that topic. So this topic is occupations at Inamgaon at page number 42. Let's discuss point wise. See, or what did archaeologists found? They found the seeds of wheat, okay, barley, rice, pulses, millets, peas, and sesame. These kind of crops were being found by the archaeologists, or seeds of wheat were seeds were found of these crops, okay, and bones of many animals, many with cut marks, suggesting that animals were also used as food. So yeah, certain they also archaeologists also found bones of many animals, means we can say they were used, means with cut marks. The bones had cut marks, which suggested what the animals were used as food also. Okay, so due to that heat, okay, that bones of the animals also crack. Due to more heat, that bones of the animals also crack with the cut marks. Okay, and this that suggested what the animals were also used as food. So the bones of animals found include what all things? What which were the animals that which were the bones? Which were the animals of whose the bones were found? So the bones were found of which animal? Let's see. Those were the bones of animals such as cattle, horse, sheep, goat, pig, buffalo, dog, ass, sambar, spotted deer, black buck, antelope, hare, mongoose, besides birds, crocodile, turtle, crab, and fish. So these things were been included in that bones of animals, and the evidence of this collecting fruits were also being the occupations at Inamgaon. Like which were the fruits? Like ber, amla, jamun, dates, and variety of berries were also collected as part of the occupation of people over at Inamgaon. Okay, so these things were being found out by the archaeologists in place of Inamgaon. Okay, so this is what we have discussed about the burial sites, certain burial sites, and we have discussed about what are megaliths. We have studied it in detail, and what are the common burial practices, how it took place in megalith, and what are family burial uh, that took place in megaliths, how it took place, and uh, how the special burial was took place in the place called Inamgaon. Okay, what were the occupations in Inamgaon? Now let's study about the skeletal study. As you can see in your textbook, page number 42, in the blue box it is given. Okay, so what is that? The skeleton of a child, it is very small. Okay, so the archaeologists found it easy to find the skeleton of a child, because why? It is very small, and skeleton of an adult is very big, therefore it is easy to differentiate. Okay, it was very easy for them to find out the skeletal body. Okay, and however it is difficult to make out whether a skeleton is of a man or a woman. Yeah, for finding out the skeleton of a child or an adult, it was easy. But for finding out the skeleton of man or woman, it was really difficult. And sometimes archaeologists decide on the basis of things found with the skeleton. For example, means they got an idea of the skeleton which belongs to man or woman. So for that, whether these bones belong to man or woman, for that they also had some kind of things which they found it easy to understand the skeleton of man or woman. That were, for example, we can say if ornaments are found in the grave, probably the person was a woman. In this way, these things showed them the example, which could give them the idea that this bone or this skeleton belonged to a woman. By how, in which way? Because if the ornaments are found along with the dead body, then they will easily find that this the skeleton is of a woman. Okay, and this doesn't always work. It is not always it never gives the result by finding in this way. It is not always easy. Okay, it doesn't work all the time. because often men also wore ornaments. So in why it was difficult? Because this method was not easy for them always to find out whether it is a bone of a men or women. How they could find how we can say that this didn't work always, because in those times men also used to wear the ornaments in previous times. Okay, so it was that kind of, in that way, if we think, it was still difficult for them to find out the skeleton of man or a woman. Okay, now a better method is to look at the bone structure. Then they thought of finding the uh, skeleton of men and women with the method of looking at the bone structure. How we can find out? See, the hip or pelvic area of a woman is generally larger to enable childbearing. Okay, so the hip or the pelvic, the watching the skeletal body of a woman as women uh, gives birth to child. Okay, so in that way, if we think, the bone structure of a women was also different that of men. In that way they could recognize the bone of women, and these distinctions are asked on modern skeletal studies. Okay, and about 2000 years ago there was a famous physician called Charaka. Okay, so what did he do? He wrote a book on medicine called what was the book? So these things you have, these are very important things. Okay, this you have to underline in your textbook also. This might be asked in fill-ups also. Okay, so he wrote what? A medicine called Charaka Samhita. This is what the medicine or a book that he wrote on the medicine. Okay, so in this book, he states what? What did he state? He states that human body has 360 bones. So he wrote that human body has 360 bones, but actually, in today's sense, in the NCRT, in your textbook, it is given 200 bones, but in actual sense, uh, there are total 206 bones in a human body. Okay, so modern anatomy recognizes that, or scientifically it is proven that there are total 206 bones in human body. Okay, but still, Charaka wrote that he found 360 bones in human body. So why did he wrote in this way, 360 bones? Because Charaka arrived at this number by counting. Yeah, he also counted teeth, joints, as well as cartilage, as you can see in the picture. Okay, he also counted these teeth and these joints as well as cartilages. That also he counted along with the normal bones. So he got the figure of 360. But actually, the actual figure is 200. There are total. If uh, by deleting these teeth, joints, and cartilages, then we can say there are proper 206 bones in human body. Okay, so this way, in the previous times, we found that how this people used to uh, study about the dead bodies, about the megaliths, how the dead bodies have been buried, and we have seen regarding how the skeletal studies have been made, what are the occupations at the people in Amgaon, how the archaeologists found it, and how what were the skeletal studies, as well as the family burial megalith, how it took place, and what was megalith according, and what was the common burial practice, in which way they used to bury the dead bodies. Okay, and we have seen the megaliths in detail in today's lecture. Okay, so this is what we have all for today, as we have discussed. And right now, let's discuss in short. Meanwhile, in China, what has happened? Okay, that is on page number 43 in the elsewhere portion. Okay, so in China, the kings lived in palaces in the cities. Okay, the kings over in China lived in palaces, and they amassed vast quantities of wealth. Means they collected, they had so much of wealth. Okay, vast quantities of wealth, including what? Large elaborately decorated bronze vessels were found. Means they were rich in having these kind of vessels. Okay, and however they did not know to use this kind of iron, but they were very rich in these things, in terms of vessel, bronze vessels, iron. These things were with them because they were very rich, but they did not know how to use these things. So this is uh, what we have seen in this chapter. I hope that you have understood whole thing about the chapter. Now read today's portion, that is from page number 39, the last from the starting from the last paragraph of 39 to page number, then 40, page number 41, 42, and 43. This much page number you have to read the textbook properly. Okay, along with my points that I have made you focus. I have put made you understand by the point explanation in short. Okay, so I hope with these points it will help you. Then along with this, when you read the textbook, then it will be more and more clear to you. Okay, but still if you find any doubts, okay, you can call me at any time. I'll make you understand regarding the concept. Okay, so that's all for today. Now the next lecture will be the discussion of question answer sections, and then we have to start the next chapter also as soon as possible. Until then, read the textbook, study well, work hard, take care, and bye.